Hello and welcome, guys. It's Cloud. Welcome to my first video. So basically, we are going to be doing a Fred Weasley one shot. Hope you enjoy. If you hear any background noise, it's either my TV, dogs, a bug, or a car. Also, if I stutter or anything, do not mind that. That is just kind of how I talk, because I'm trying to talk slow, and it makes me stutter. So I'm so sorry if I do stutter. Let's start. Fred, George, and Lee found themselves racing into the Gryffindor common room at top speed with panting breath and silenced laughs. It was a few nights before the holidays, and they had just set off an exploding Christmas present in Professor Umbridge's office. It was late at night, the best time for a prank as extreme as sneaking into Umbridge's office, which allowed them a clear path through the hallways as most students were already tucked into bed at this point. They were not expecting any Gryffindors to be awake in the common room, which is why they did not hold back in releasing their loud laughter. "That was brilliant," Lee squeaked out, gasping for air as his infectious laugh echoed off the infectious laugh echoed off the walls. So sorry about that, guys. "I wish we could see the look on her face when she opens it," George snorted. "Surely she doesn't think she's receiving a gift for her stellar teaching skills." Didn't take long before the rambunctious behavior of the three woke up the girl sleeping on the couch before them. "Hey, quiet down, would you?" Lee had jumped at the sound, probably still on edge and afraid of facing the wrath of Umbridge. The gaze softened once they realized who it was. YN last name. Their longtime friend and fellow Gryffindor. She rose up just enough to see their faces over the back of the couch. It was obvious she had just been woken up. Puffy eyes, tangled hair, and a red blanket haphazardly off one shoulder. "Blindly," Lee sighed, placing a hand on his chest. "Scared the daylights out of me." YN exhaled a breezy laugh, bringing up one hand to rub the sleepiness from her eyes. "Sorry, guys, it says on, so." "Yeah," she quipped. "How do you think I felt being scared awake by the three of you cackling through the common room?" George snorted. "Sorry, YN. We were just getting back from setting up one of our new pranks in Umbridge's office. Want to hear about it? I loved you, George." "Maybe tomorrow, though, yeah?" George playfully rolled his eyes but nodded, bidding YN a good night, and following Lee up the stairs to their dormitories. Fred's hands were stuffed in his pockets, standing up in his place behind the couch, soft brown eyes glowing as they reflected on the fire danced within them. A grin tugged at his lips. He'd been staring at her this entire time. Godric, she looked absolutely adorable, he thought. He felt his breath hitch as he looked down at the jumper he was wearing. It was his. At the jumper she was wearing. It was his. He remembered exactly when he'd given it to her. It was before a Quidditch match, a partially cold one at that. "Go on, put it on," Fred encouraged, looking down at the hesitance in YN's face. She rolled her eyes and obligated. I don't know, peoples. Slipping on the sweater over her head. The sleeves fell past her hands, and the end reaching her thighs, but she could have sworn it fitted like a massive puzzle piece. She was engulfed in warmth, and Fred sensed that her cheeks warming up as she realized. "See?" Fred quirked an eyebrow. "Much better." YN chuckled. "Thanks, Weasley. It looks great on you." Fred leaned forward and pressed a kiss to her forehead. YN closed her eyes, allowing herself to fall deep into the endless pit that was loving Fred Weasley, his soft lips on her skin and his scent filling her nose. She scrunched up the end of the sleeves in her fists, resting them on his chest. Plus, now everyone will know it's me you're rooting for. He sent her wink before grabbing his broom and jogging off to meet the rest of his team. Fred wasn't sure which moment he loved more. Her wearing his clothing with pride, cheering him on loud enough he could hear her across the pitch, or now, wrapped up in his scent for comfort on a cold night. He could feel the thumping of his heart within his chest, begging to be let out and right into Ryan's hands, where it belonged. She had him wrapped around her finger, and Fred didn't seem to mind. Hell, if anyone was going to have that much control over him, he was overjoyed that it was her. Hey, Freddie, she lazily smiled up at the redhead, sending his heart into a frenzy. Pink lips curled into a grin, eyes blinking to keep from closing. Fred walked towards her, taking a seat on the couch beside her. She sighed happily as he sat down, immediately leaning into him. He lifted his arm, wrapping it around her and letting it fall at her waist. Her head tucked into his chest, where she finally let her eyes flutter closed. Fred pressed a kiss to her hair. Hey, sweetheart, he hummed as his chest vibrated while the words left his lips. She lifted her arm, the long sleeve falling down enough to expose her hand so she could rest it on his chest. There was a routine for the pair of best friends, undeniable feelings for one another. Sorry, guys. It was exhausting for the rest of their friends, being on both sides of the two, pinning over the other since third year. But to Fred and YN, it was perfect. They were attached at the hip most of the time, and while neither had uttered the words themselves, it was quite obvious to the other that they were in love. Fred was very touchy, finding any excuse to press a kiss to her face. YN was jealous and had no problem voicing her opinion when a new girl found herself flirting with the older twin. There was a valid reason why they hadn't put a label to the relationship. It hadn't come up. Practically everyone in Hogwarts knew the two were a pair, so no one bothered to ask any questions. But it was moments like these, with the girl tucked into his side, that Fred questioned why they hadn't brought it up sooner. Everything all right, YN? Fred spoke softly, careful not to jolt YN awake if she had fallen asleep against him. YN nodded her head against his chest, not caring to look up. Fine, Freddie. Why? Look at me. He placed his hand on her cheek as she rose up to look at him. He found himself instantly smiling once he made eye contact with her. Butterflies fluttered in his stomach at the sight of her tired eyes. They were heavy, but she tried her best to stay awake to look at him. He chuckled to himself, absently running his thumb over her cheek, unknowingly luring her to sleep. YN bit her lip to suppress a so sorry, guys. I make that noise whenever I mess up. YN bit her lip to suppress a smile. She couldn't think of a better place to be. It was as if every evil in the world disappeared when she was in Fred's arms. Time had stopped. Umbridge was gone, and she had no fear of standing against her. He leaned down, softly catching her lips in a kiss. She quietly gasped, not expecting his lips on hers. It wasn't the first kiss, but it was like she would never get used to the euphoric feeling of him. She kissed him back, lightly tugging at his bottom lip. He breathed her in, her scent, her softness of her lips, the feeling of her cheek against his palm. He was so so guys, I cannot speak right now. Captivated by her that he forgot where he was. There was no need to know when he was with her, as long as he was with her. With her, he felt at home. He grinned to himself, smiling against her lips. He watched her as he pulled back. Her eyes were still closed as she relished in the relished. Can I say relish, guys? I don't know. In the aftertaste of him against her lips, hoping to hold on to it for as long as she could. A blush rose to her cheeks as she opened her eyes at last to see him already looking down at her. She tucked her head into his neck, and he pulled her tighter against him. "You know I love you, right?" Wyan hummed. I know. I love you too. I mean, really love you, though." Fred paused, swallowing before he continued, not in a friendly way. Wyan lifted her head and pressed a light kiss to his jawline. "I know, Freddie. I love you too." He chuckled, resting his chin on her head. Resting her head, repeated on her head at her repeated response. They sat there for a while longer. It was probably the most quiet the Gryffindor common room has ever been. Jacqueline relished that word again in her surroundings. The slow thump of Fred's heartbeat in her ears, his chest rising and falling with every breath he took. It was a simple feeling, but one he held so close to her heart. The feeling of him breathing alive. With her in that moment, she never loved anyone the way she loved him. He made it so easy for her, how charming he was for starters, but just how closely he cared for her. The mere touch of him sent her cheeks blushing and her heartbeat quickening. They sat comfortable in their place, a silent conversation between the two as they communicated through the light kisses. He pressed to her hair, and the way she reached her hand up to brush through the ends of his hair. His hand ran up and down her side, occasionally stopping in one place to trace shapes against her skin. "You keep doing that, and sorry guys. You keep doing that, I'm going to fall asleep right here in your arms," Wyan mumbled, her voice muffled from its place in his neck. "I think I'd be okay with that," Fred shrugged. Wyan chuckled. Not when your arms gone numb and you've got to find a way to sleep sitting up." Fred laughed, his chest moving casually, causing Wyan to giggle as well. She was so happy. How was she supposed to expect herself to fall asleep in her lonely dorm room after she was so content in her lover's arms? She spoke up. "Fred, yes, darling. Angelina's already headed home for the holidays." She hesitated. Sounded like the perfect idea in her head, but she was unsure if he would agree. "Why don't you come sleep with me?" Fred didn't shy away from the smile that appeared on his lips after her asking him to join her in bed. Even the tips of his ears grew warm. Truthfully, he wanted nothing more than to hold her and fall asleep to the pattern of rain outside her window. However, halfway through his 7th year, he quickly grew accustomed to just how crazy the new Defense Against Dark Arts teacher was. He sighed. As much as I would love to take you up on that offer, I don't want to risk you getting punished by Umbridge if we get caught. She huffed, already ready with a protest to his predicted rebuttal, whatever. Come on, love. She sat up. It's only a few days before we leave for Hogwarts for holidays as well, and I'm already so comfortable. I don't want to go sleep alone now. Fred shook his head, laughing quietly at the dramatic tone Ryan took. I'm so sorry, guys. Took to win him over, but it did win him over. How could he say no to the soft, tired eyes staring up at him? He got so lost in them and didn't ever plan on finding his way out. It was truly mind controlling at this point. He would do practically anything to have a look at him the way she did. Fred smirked, playfully bringing his hands up to run his fingers through her hair. She shut her eyes for a moment, leaning into his touch. Fine, he huffed. Ryan chuckled, knowing she had him from the beginning. She leaned forward, pressing a long kiss to his cheek, and stood from her spot, reaching out to grab his hand and pulled him along to her dorm room. So guys, that is it for the book, or like the one shot. Tell me who you want next. I can do other characters. But if I do not know them, I will not be doing them. I'm sorry. Mainly do Harry Potter characters or somebody like that. Or even like I like Henry Danger. I don't know if any of you guys listen to that. I could do a girl for Harry Potter. I would do maybe a couple animes if, I've watched them and I actually like that character. Because sometimes I just don't want to read it because I don't personally like the character and it just, I don't know. So yeah. But yeah, comment down below. And yeah.